I do not like how I'm being positioned, Rachel, on this show. But I will say, I said this to start the show, is the Celtics are nothing if not a little strange historically.
Yes.
They are a kind of almost well, by their standards, a bad home playoff team.
8 of the last 11 losses they've had have been at home.
Okay.
That's just the numbers.
I don't know if they're well coached, although the staff is better. Tatum has moments where he disappears. And I don't love Al Horford taking 12 threes. So sometimes Charles Barkley's touched on this. What is that offense? I said this a year ago. I thought Denver could be a dynasty. Still could be, but I knew what they were. Well coached, run through Jokic, good defensively, great at home, Murray a late game shot maker.
Yep.
I still don't know what the Celtics are in the fourth quarter.
I mean, they're going to look different when Kristaps Porzingis comes back.
Especially defensively, he can help.
100%. Here's the thing about last night. There's no doubt the Pacers choked away that game.
No question.
Boneheaded decision after boneheaded decision. Rick Carlisle came out and said after the loss, he said, oh, this is my fault. And people kind of were like, oh, he's just covering for his players. No. He's right, because they were up when he did not call a timeout to inbound the ball where he could have advanced it. And then there is no Jaylen Brown shot. There's none of that happens. And you foul someone and you get 2 shots and you're up by 3 and it doesn't matter. So there was just boneheaded stuff all the way around. However, just because the Pacers choked their chance away doesn't mean, I hate this narrative, they handed it to the Celtics. There is nothing about the way the Celtics have played in the biggest moments at the end of games that gave people, oh, that's an automatic, that's just faith. We have criticized them over and over again, even though their clutch numbers are generally pretty good. Situationally, when it really counts, they've been a bit discombobulated. And that didn't happen. You talk about this Jaylen Brown shot. Jaylen is a 22% shooter on corner threes this playoffs. That was not a gimme. Right? And you look at Jason Tatum, who made that shot that you guys are talking about with 1 minute to go in overtime. He didn't make those shots throughout most of that game, and yet there he was at the end. So I just think when you look at them and you say, what is this offense? Who is this team? They're obviously still figuring it out, but I have to give them credit for figuring out more last night after not playing a very good in regulation game, that they actually came together and did what they keep saying they are, which is an elite team. And I just think that we're starting to see it.
Chris Finch talked about this. I'm old enough. In the 70s, it was a lot of good teams. Sixers, Blazers, Sonics, Warriors. At the time, Washington Bullets, Elvin Hayes, and Wes Unseld and Kevin Greavy. A lot of good teams. No great ones. I feel like the talent now, because of the international surplus, is the best it's ever been. But it's all spread out. And part of this, I think, Rachel, I'll throw this at you. When I travel overseas, I know I'm a guest. I stay where I stay. Everything's planned. I don't get distracted. I stay on. When international players come over here, they don't move around a lot. They pick a team. They're loyal. You don't get this, hey, let's join the country club. Let's join the super team.
Right.
That's kind of a domestic player thing. They feel like this is ours. I feel like that. International players, Giannis can threaten, get me Dame, but he's still a buck. And I think the good news for the league is that creates parity. His players Luka wants to stay in Dallas forever. And off season, he's going to go do his thing. So is Jokic. They have a full life over there. But I do think the league's more talented, but I think it's an all-time high for parity.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question. We talk about Bill Russell and all the titles he won. And when we got to the Michael Jordan era, there was no one who thought, man, Michael should have won 11. Right? The league was so different. The number of teams was different. The amount of parity was different. Michael Jordan won 6 titles. I do not think that anyone else following behind him, now that we've reached this stage, can win 6 titles. I don't think it's available. Because, as you say, the international players have raised the level of the game. It's kind of like integrating baseball when, you have an influx of guys who are very good coming into the league. The ground rules are going to change.
Right.
And we have had this, look at the last MVPs. Look at the finalists for MVP this year. None of them are American. And I'm not saying we're never going to get another American MVP. I think, there's some candidates who are going to be playing tonight who could end up there. But I I don't think anyone can win 6 anymore, and that parity makes it more exciting for all of us.
Yeah, the T-Wolves Mavs, it is Dallas deserves credit twofold. They took a big swing on Kyrie, bumpy early, but now it works, and they took a big swing at the trade deadline.
Big.
And we have said for years, aggressive mostly wins in sports.
Yeah.
Even if the Russell Wilson thing fails, because you get such a surplus of draft talent in football, you can recover very quickly if you find the right guy. But a year ago, I didn't like Brunson is taking over New York.
Right.
Kyrie's being Kyrie. They can't defend the rim. I don't know. I think Dallas matches up pretty well with Minnesota.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic series. I mean, this is definitely the series of the playoffs at this point. And when you look at what Dallas has done, I don't think there was a comfort level with Kyrie and Luka. He came so late in the season, and there were injuries, and I just don't think they ever got there where they knew who was going to go when, and there was a lot of my turn, your turn, and all of that stuff. And Kyrie did look around a little bit over the summer when he was a free agent, but the Mavs made it clear from the minute he walked in the door, you are our guy. We traded for you and gave up a bunch of stuff for you, even though you have an expiring contract.
Right.
That's how much faith we have in you.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd, who has been Kyrie's idol for so long, Kyrie Irving went to Jason Kidd's Hall of Fame induction. Not because at that point they had a special relationship, just because he was like, this is my favorite player and I want to see him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Jason didn't invite him. He just showed up.
So it's worked.
So the fact that this has worked for them has been so great. And they did take a huge swing at the trade deadline because they mortgaged a lot for these guys. And so far they have come through. My question is, can the role players continue to play as well as they did in the last series in this series? Because you needed Derek Jones Jr. or PJ Washington to tip in at least 19 points a night.
Yeah.
And PJ Washington had a spectacular end of game 6, but he was shooting 20-something% before the final minutes. So he can't do that in this game tonight. He can't do that for the series. So we'll see if the role players can play above their heads again, and then Dallas has a real shot at it.
So there's a story out there, and I don't think it's that far-fetched, that the Lakers think Redick has a Pat Riley vibe.
I don't know, man. I don't buy any of it. First of all, I mean, you're not going to get the Godfather look in the Armani suits.
That you're not.
JJ's a very sharp dresser, but I'm just saying, just in terms of how prepared they are for the league, JJ Redick is going to be an excellent head coach. I just believe that. I think he will be a head coach, and I think he will be very good at it. However, to compare him to Pat Riley, who not only when he was in broadcasting, he broadcasted locally for the Lakers.
Yeah.
So he watched that team. He played for that team, and then he watched that team every night.
He knew the culture.
Night in and night out.
Yeah.
He knew the guys super well. Everybody was very familiar with each other. And then he became an assistant coach. He was an assistant coach for 2+ seasons before he took over. That's the biggest knock on JJ. I think everyone knows how good he's going to be.
Yeah.
It's just, can you walk into being a head coach of a team with 2 superstars that needs to win now if you have no experience? That was not Pat Riley. Pat Riley had experience. He was on that bench. He was in the locker room. He was in the coaches' meetings. And I just don't see the one-to-one.
Yeah, I get that. Good points. We've said before that it's because of the mobility of the league. Rachel Nichols for our radio audience. It is hard to create a culture. So Miami did it with D Wade, and they had Shaq come in and LeBron come in, but they maintained their culture.
I mean, they did it with Alonzo Mourning off the bat, right?
Yep. And Haslam was part of it, even when later in his career. And then D Wade leaves, and Pat's like, we gotta go find a D Wade type player. They get Jimmy Butler, who leans into that sort of tough, gritty. When the red light's on, I'm great. So I think the Warriors with Steve Kerr started with Mark Jackson, but Steve Kerr, there was a culture. Catch and react. It's a pretty high IQ offense. Young people could struggle, but they did well poaching veterans and getting them to work. Yeah. There's not another team in the league where I watch them play and think, oh, that's a culture more than the Knicks. It's a Villanova thing. It's a Tibbs thing, and they sort of feed off each other.
Yep.
And so I think we realize they need another skill player. Julius Randle playoff history is not ideal.
Yep.
But you can't screw up the culture.
Well, who they're going to bring in is going to be so important. And I do think they need to bring someone else in, and I think they will bring someone else in. I see the Devin Booker talk. I don't see Phoenix trading Devin Booker. So I don't think that's a realistic path to go down. Mikal Bridges, on the other hand, talk about culture. He is a Villanova guy. I mean, those guys love each other. They play for each other. It gives them that feel of that college team. I don't know if you can pry him away, but he would be a great fit there. So I
wouldn't have to give up as much.
No, I like that move. They've talked about DeMar DeRozan. I think you got to look around the Bulls roster. I think Zach LaVine would be an interesting, fit there. I don't know for sure that he's a Tibbs guy, but I do know that he has never been put in the position in Chicago to really be his full potential. And I just think it's been a crummy situation for him the entire time he's been there. And I would be interested to see whether he could stand up physically to a Tibbs season and how he would do there because, man, he's got height. He's such a shot maker. He would space the floor completely differently, take some of the pressure off Jalen Brunson, to be the 40-point guy every single night. I think there are options for the Knicks that aren't necessarily the bring Donovan Mitchell in, not going to happen. Bring Devin Booker in, don't see it happening. There are guys around the league who you could go out and get who I think would really fit in there. And it's a credit to the front office, as you say, that they built a team around Tibbs. Yeah, they knew who they had, and they built a team that could be in his character.
Yeah, the other thing about the Knicks, they're not devoid of talent. Brunson's clearly an A. Mitchell Robinson can protect the rim. Mm-hmm. I know he was a bounce around the league guy, but Dante DiVincenzo has become an excellent catch-and-shoot three-point guy, like really good. OG's a baller.
Absolutely.
So it's not like in the East, you don't have to have KD.
No.
So the Mikal Bridges thing, a lot of people will push back and say it's not enough. And my takeaway is it does add to the culture. There's no
he's got some size too, by the way, compared to those Villanova teammates that are with the Knicks right now.
Can Indiana make it a series? I was saying they're long, they're deep, they're good offensively, and they have a coach with experience. I watched that last night. I'm like, okay, I've got to stop giving the Celtics this credit. And I'm like, when you're such an underdog, so the Pacers weren't a big underdog with New York, but when you're going in as a huge underdog, kind of loose, certainly deep, healthy. I mean, I watched that last night and I thought, okay, Boston's going to win the series, but it could go 6, right?
Yeah, no, I think this series absolutely could go 6 games, and that won't be because the Celtics fell apart. It will be because the Pacers are a legitimate team. And yes, they are an underdog in this series. There's no question about that. But the way they play, as we saw last night.
And they kind of gave away last night. They were really sloppy.
They didn't kind of give
really
away.
Sloppy.
They absolutely 100% gave away last night. But you heard after the game the Celtics players saying, we got to get with that pace. We got to play faster. We got to get with that pace. Yeah. That is what the Pacers do to you.
Yeah.
I mean, they play like every player is physically on fire in the middle of a tornado. It is hectic. It is chaotic. It is quick. And if you can't keep up with that, you are going to have a problem. And the Pacers are younger, and they've shown themselves to be durable, and they have deep bench. So I don't think this is a walkover, but I also think the Celtics win.
Yeah, Porzingis didn't feel to me vital going into it, and then I watched Siakam work Al Horford, and I'm like, they need Porzingis.
Yeah,
to close it out. Because remember, Indiana's a very good home team.
Yeah.
Rachel, Nichols, as always, great seeing you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.